Oh, you want to put it on Facebook right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you in a second.
Okay. Yeah, I want to put it on Facebook right now.
Okay. I'm checking. Oh, come on, Restream, do your thing. Restream says it's going, but sometimes it just takes forever to spin.
Yep.
Okay, it looks like it's connected. All right, let me go grab the link from DJ's live streaming. Oh, the new Facebook layout is quite irritating. It's like I'm really good if I have time to play with it, but like it just happens so quick. I haven't really had a chance to figure where everything goes yet. And so I'm looking for stuff that's not where I think it is. It's driving me batty. Here. Just because of the way Facebook comments tend to work, I'm going to send you the link to the live video. How about that? I mean, the YouTube video, sorry.
Okay.
Because Facebook comments can go goofballs when you're trying to do this. All right, Scott, you can give it the full nasty treatment. Dizz, you might want to slide in to the right just a taste.
Okay. I'm okay.
I see you now.
There you go.
I see you.
All right, what's up, everybody? I am Scott Smokin Silz, and welcome back to the channel. It's DJ's live streaming. I am coming to you from Logan Square in Chicago, along with my co-host, Doc, and he is coming to us from Honolulu, Hawaii. And today we have a very special guest. I know you guys remember we had one of the bad boys on, but now we got the second bad boy himself on. Welcome, Dizz. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, Chicago famous, bad boy, Chicago famous in the house. That's what it is now. With Chicago famous, they still know us from Bad Boy Radio, but we are now officially Chicago famous.
Well, I still like Bad Boy Radio.
Yeah, we were bad. What's going on, fellas? How you feeling?
Man, it's good to see you. It's been a while. It's great to finally catch up with you. First of all, let me just say congratulations. I hear you and Mike have reunited. So for those of you guys that don't remember the Dizz and the Bad Boys or don't know them, they were the legends on WGCI radio for how many years? I mean, holding it down in the #1 spot from 6 to 10?
Yeah, we had 12 years. 12 years, 10, 12 years on that. We started in 95 just doing weekends, and by 97, we were full-time. So, yeah, we did it for a minute.
Now, these guys are incredible. They had definitely the #1 show in Chicago. If you were a teenager or you were into the latest music, this was the show that you checked out Monday through Friday, no doubt. So it's really a pleasure to have you back and to know that you guys are actually going to reunite finally and come back. So tell us a little bit about that. I think you're coming back on, is it September 9th? Is that the correct date?
Actually, it's September 8th. And yeah, it's on a Tuesday right after the holiday. So Mike and myself are now exploring the world of the digital platform, and we'll be coming to Chicago live via YouTube and Facebook, brought to you by Maze Jackson's What's in It for the Black People Network. And we're going to be broadcasting live from 3 to 6 p.m. every day. And, you're going to kind of get a more mature, grown-up Mike Love and Dizz. We'll be talking about issues and politics and stuff that's going on in the world today, all things Chicago. Plus, probably in our last hour, we'll definitely throw it back to some nostalgia type stuff. We'll still be playing some music in there and talking about different culture things throughout the city of Chicago and around the country. So it ought to be quite interesting. We've had the Chicago Famous podcast running for about, 23, 24, 25 episodes now. But now with the visual component, you'll really get to see some different things going on. So it should be a lot of fun.
The big question is, will we get the birthday song?
Everybody wants the birthday song. And like me and Mike always say,
there's no getting away from the birthday song.
It's just something.
Bad Boy Radio. That and the workout. What was the workout?
Oh, the 20-second workout?
The extended 20-second workout where they played all the hot, I guess it'd be Dookie Booty back then, right?
Yeah.
All the ghetto stuff that we all love so much. Ghetto House. Yeah, it was definitely a break from the format. That's all they could handle was like 20 seconds of it. I mean, it was such a popular segment. But, you know, I just really excited for you guys. Chicago, I know, is really excited. And, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about music today and technology and some of the things that have led us to this point in our lives and careers. And there's so much going on. Dizz and I go way back. I mean, with Mike, we're back in the 90s together working at GCI. And these guys were so talented. These were a couple of the real cutting edge DJs that actually came from the street side, the DJ side of things, that moved into radio and were tremendously successful. They had a well-produced show, which was something that you didn't see a lot of back in that time period. And I know my job as the production and imaging director was to do a lot of that stuff, but I didn't have to do a lot for you guys, man. You guys would walk in there with your drum machine, your sampler, and you guys would cut your stuff up, and you guys were all self-contained. I mean, I was always very proud of what you guys put on, you know, as a product. I thought you guys did a great job, and obviously it showed. You had the #1 show for so long.
Yeah, we're looking to do that with ChicagoFamous as well. Once again, we've always been self-contained. We've always, you know, had our DJ backgrounds. We've had our retail backgrounds, our street backgrounds, and we kind of combined all those elements together to give you the show that we gave you back then. And we're doing the same thing now with ChicagoFamous. So we're pretty much producing the whole show. The only difference is this time around, we own this show. So therefore, there are no program directors to answer to. There's nobody we got to go see about this or see about that. We are responsible for the content that Chicago and people around the world will be listening to. So if today we want to talk about Chicago, COVID-19, and Lori Lightfoot, we can do that. If we want to talk about verses, we can do that. If we want to talk about, you know, just whatever, we now control that ourselves. So that's what's going to make this a little different than what you grew up on with Mike Love and Dizz.
Well, yeah, no program director to report to, obviously, that's going to oversee that content. And and if you watched our show, was it last week or 2 weeks ago when Lee Michaels was on the air with us?
Yeah.
That's exactly what he was telling, like, everybody out there, you need to own your content. So this is a real big step for you guys. And, you know, I'm sure you guys are going to have tremendous success with it. Tell us how this all came about. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, you guys worked together for a long time, you and Mike, and you know it's hard having a partnership or a team, and you guys kind of grew apart a little bit there, and then you finally came to your senses, I guess is what Chicago would tell you, and you reunited, and you know it's bringing you success, and that's why you guys are coming back on the air. So, you know, walk us through what happened and bring us up to this point in your life.
I mean, pretty much the breakup from GCI led to us doing our own individual projects. And when I say breakup from GCI, there was no fight. There was no screaming and yelling, I hate you, you hate me type thing. It was kind of, I walked into work one day, and we touched upon this on the first episode of our podcast, ChicagoFamous. I walked into work one day and they said, guess what? Mike Love's not your partner no more, and he's gone. And I mean, it hit me like a truck. I couldn't understand what was going on. And by that time, ownership had changed, management had changed, the station was going in a new direction, and they were doing things different. And I found myself sitting there at the station looking across the board now at somebody, you know, no longer looking at Mike Love, who I've always looked at across the board for a long time. So, I mean, it was kind of an odd situation. The days were kind of numbered for us on GCI. And for that, I understood it. They had a new vision, a new direction for the station. They laid it out. They told us what they wanted to do. And to this day, they followed that vision. So I can't be mad at them for that. I couldn't be a part of that.
I mean,
where they were going,
radio.
They were going where they were wanting to go. So with that being said, you know, me and Mike kind of split. The big thing that people don't really understand is people listened to us for so long and they thought that me and Mike were joined at the hip. And we are really two very separate individuals. I mean, I never had his phone number. He never had my phone number. We never really talked outside of the radio station. So when we were able to get back together after 10 years of not speaking to each other, it all broke down to a communication thing. And, you know, it came down to just getting back to what we do and talking to each other and realizing that we are who we are. Our history is our history, and let's figure out how to make the best of it. And I have learned more about Mike Love in the last 10 months than I had working 12 years with him on the air. I mean, we talk all the time now. We share our ideas, we share our vision, and that's moving us forward with this whole Chicago Famous project, which is it's a great thing. But Mike Love made it a point to reach out to me through Rick Party, because we were both still in touch with Rick Party over all these years. And Rick Party kind of was like the connector between us two. And we decided to sit down and have a face-to-face meeting, talk about how we felt, how things ended at GCI, what we've been doing since GCI. He's worked on radio, I've worked on radio, and where we want to go in the future. And once again, we've always been able to have the same vision. And I'm proud to say that he's always had my back and I got his back. And now we're ready to cut some heads off. So Chicago Famous, September 8th.
Yeah. How exciting can that be? Dizz, you've got a bit of a streaming background. I mean, this is a live streaming show that we're talking about. That's exactly what you guys are going to be doing, because you're going to be going to the live stream side of things. And something that we've tried to share with the DJs that have watched our show over the last several months is, we all kind of got in at a ground level during the pandemic, but you were actually doing streaming long before that. Can you tell us about how you got into streaming and how things work for you? Because I know you used to have a camera in GCI that you guys would bring in long before anybody was even talking about doing this sort of thing.
I mean, interesting. I've always pride myself on being somebody who's cutting edge and always look for the future. And back when we were doing Bad Boy Radio on GCI, we actually had a website, thebadboys.com, before WGCI had a website. We had a webcam in the studio before. I mean, back then, everybody was still on Black Planet. That shows you how old that was. I mean, it wasn't even Facebook back then, but we were already ahead of the technology curve then. And then if you just leapfrog a few years, when we talk about when COVID-19 struck and the clubs closed down and what the DJs were doing, I was doing a Tone Master Tuesday show on Tuesday live via Ustream. And I remember the first time I launched that virtual DJ show, Tone Master Tuesday, I can't tell you how many people in the industry laughed at me for that idea. They couldn't believe that I was DJing for 3 hours in my kitchen on my equipment, and people were in a chat room talking to me. Everybody thought it was just the most ridiculous thing they've ever seen. Fast forward to 2020, well, bam, here we go. COVID-19, and the whole world is doing virtual DJing now. And keep in mind, I was doing Ustream before there was Facebook Live, before any of that. So, I mean, I had a name to the show. I had it running. I was selling merchandise via the Ustream. I mean, I had the whole thing clicking. And then, of course, like I said, I tried to roll that out to some of my people in the industry, and they were like, dude, I'm not about to DJ on the computer. I'm not DJing live via a webcam. That's just crazy. I want to go to the nightclub. Well, look where we're at now. So I guess I wasn't that stupid back then. So I'm just saying.
You know what's funny is Ustream, like I did my first shows on Ustream probably like circa 2010. And even way back then, like people thought it was just a crazy concept, right? One of my homies here, he has a travel company, and all he would do was put his camera on his balcony and point it at the beach and literally put that on Ustream. And he would get like 100,000 people watching Waikiki Beach. Well, I mean, it's Waikiki Beach, right?
Right. Yeah.
But people would literally just stare at Waikiki Beach. And it's time at that time, you remember now, we're talking 640 by 480.
Yep.
And in most cases, your internet wasn't fast enough to swing 640 by 480. So everybody was stepping down to like 320 by like 240. So you had a tiny little postage stamp, and it's like, oh, look at this surf. It's so beautiful. I need to get on a plane. But what was trippy, as a dude who was running a travel agency, he sold a metric crap ton of plane tickets from frozen tundra to Hawaii just because of pointing it at the beach. So I think a lot of people underestimate the power of, I guess, that vicarious type thing. You know what I mean? And what I think a lot of DJs are figuring out now, that your crowds are probably more engaged when you're streaming, because there's people who, for whatever reason, family, work, lifestyle change, whatever, aren't able to go back to that club spot anymore, but they miss it. So what do? They watch it. You know what I mean? It is what it is.
I mean, it was interesting because I came up with the whole Tone Master Tuesday concept because at the time the radio station I was working for had sent me a memo, and they were like, look, you're playing too much house dance music on this station. We're not trying to be known as a house dance station. Stop playing all that house music. So again, I'm working for the man. So I kind of got to lay back and do kind of what they tell me if I expect to still get a check. So with that being said, I decided to explore the digital platform. And I was looking at some cats out of Germany who were coming up with this boiler room concept. And they were having different dance music DJs doing this whole boiler room virtual club type thing. And I thought that was fascinating. I was like, damn, this shit is hot. So anyway, probably 3 months after Boiler Room launched is when I decided to launch Tone Master Tuesday. And it not only gave me an opportunity to still connect with the people who were fans of mine one-on-one, because I could talk to them via chat, I could talk to them via email, but it also gave me the opportunity to teach them as well. So I just wasn't just sitting up here playing music. I was actually playing music, and then I was letting people know what records were, where you could purchase them, who was the artist, if that was off a certain album. I was putting all that stuff in the chat room, and sometimes at the end of the mix, I would break it down and talk about these things. But it was more of an educational process for me instead of just playing music to be playing music, you know?
No, I remember getting all the emails. You did a great job. I mean, you did a good job marketing your product or your service, which is you, and being consistent. And that's really half the battle. I'm sure you had really big, like viewership for that sort of thing, and I could see how that's just kept you in the game. I mean, after you left GCI, so you did a tour at Soul, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Power.
No.
Did you go on? No, it was only Soul.
No, it was only.
So tell me a little bit how that transition worked for you, and I mean, you were a big part of that station for a long time. Break that down for us a little bit.
That was an interesting concept because I was contacted by management, and they were just looking to try to find a direction for the station at that time. And they asked me if I was interested because they know that I did mixes, that I did on air, that I did traffic. So I pretty much got hired to do just about everything at that radio station. With that being said, their other station was pretty much the cash cow. And the station that I was on was pretty much, okay, well, we'll see, anything we get from them is a bonus. So I always had the concept in my mind that the station always tried to battle and be like V103. And no matter what they did, they could never be V103. There's too much money over there, too much watts, too much power. So I said, hey, let's do all the things that V really isn't paying attention to. So I started adding old school hip hop, and I started going the dance music route, the house route, but kind of different from what V was doing. I mean, cats like Maurice Ice Culpepper and Kenny Jason, yourself, was playing house mixes, but I was trying to get more in depth into it and really explore a lot of the new music. So songs like Black Coffee Superman, Hey Hey, Teresa Griffith Wonderful, Pevin Everett, these songs I started playing on that station, and that kind of opened up the door to people realizing that, wow, house music didn't stop being made in 93, 94. There's actually a 93. Did
it go that long? I think it stopped at about 1987 or 88, didn't it, in Chicago for a long time? I mean,
yeah. So cats started learning, and regular people started coming back to dance music there. I mean, they all of a sudden found out that there was more records than Follow Me and Change for Me and those same records, The Percolator, records like that. So I took great pride in introducing new music, and not just national artists, but local artists as well. I played stuff from Glenn Underground, Vic Lavender, Terry Hunter, artists that had been doing their thing for a minute here in Chicago. But when it came to house mixes, it was always about classic stuff and disco stuff. So I tried to switch it up and kind of create a new dance house vibe. And I took great pride in that working over there, and it really got a buzz going. And from there, I started doing different events. I got the Chosen Few on the station back then. I actually played the Chosen Few, 2009? I mean, you had a whole kind of a resurgent buzz going on, and I was very proud of that.
And it's something that the city has needed. I mean, we've been stuck in a time warp. Not now, but we were stuck in a time warp for a very, very long time. And even to this day, if we go out and do shows, I mean, like I like playing a lot of the, we'll call it new disco or the reworked classics. Mm-hmm. That's something that I just really like in terms of the house music. But, people want to hear what they grew up on. They want to hear the classics. So it's hard. You can go to those shows and, you can break out all the new stuff and play it and people respond to it. But, they've got that spot in their heart for their classic songs that they just want to hear. And, they expect when you get to one of these events. I can remember going out to see Frankie Knuckles when he would play at, let's say, House of Blues, or he was playing at Crowbar. And I saw him a couple times there, and, he came in and played all new music. And people were like, they stayed there. and they danced.
Okay,
but they weren't rejoicing until 2:00 in the morning when he would finally start playing some classic disco or classic house, and then they would like lose their mind.
Okay, so here's the problem. Hip hop has always been an art form that not only wanted to expose people to it, but also educate people as well. House music has never done that. Even when you were on the Hot Mix 5 on the Saturday Night Live Ain't No Jive Chicago Dance Party, it wasn't like Armando came on after the mix and said that was Marco Trani's Mega Mix, or that was I'm Hungry by Stop, or that was Happy Station by Fun Fun. We never knew those things, but we enjoyed the music. What I tried to do, I tried to get on the air and I tried to teach people about these artists. I wanted people to know that this record was made by Boo Williams. I wanted people to know that Black Coffee is from South Africa and that he's not 60 years old. He's actually fairly young when you think about the house world. But house music still matters, and there's good music out there. But if you don't educate people on stuff, because keep in mind, it's house, Time to Jack, Like This, they were all new records at one time. And you got used to them by hearing them, and people talked about them, and you got them on mixtapes, and people became educated about that music. Record stores were in abundance. You could go in any record store, and there was a wall of vinyl, and they were playing music in the store, and the people working in the record store, they could tell you the name of that song. Well, we kind of lost that. So therefore, the music has always been evolving. But unfortunately, the dance floor, and I'm strictly from Chicago, I mean, I'm just speaking from a Chicago point of view, because overseas it's a little different. But in Chicago, if it's not bad luck, or if it's not wonderful, or if it's not something that people are like, I don't know what the hell I'm listening to. And really, it just all breaks down to educating people on stuff. That's why that's why I had a real battle where I was, because I was the person who thought that records like Teresa Griffith Wonderful and Black Coffee Superman should be in rotation. Of course, I always got the blowback that, oh, that's a club record, that's a house record. I'm like, it's a good damn song. If you could play that Tamar Braxton song that don't nobody out here know, then how the hell can you not play this Teresa Griffith song that the whole damn city is singing?
But you're preaching to the choir here, because we had this discussion with Lee just like a week ago, and really, you make a great point there, because those are new records. But we had the trust of the program director that we knew what we were doing, because we were seeing the response in the clubs and knew that these records were hot, and he just trusted us that I hired these guys because they do know what's going on. Versus, well, we're going to play this new record, as you mentioned, Tamar Braxton. Nobody knows, and it's a favor or whatever. But hey, it's crazy.
What's funny about that is, okay, so coming from the hip hop side of things, what we would do, and even to this day, it still happens, because for some reason, hip hop producers forget to give us that clean 16, that clean 32 in the beginning, so that we could do exactly what you said. Most of the hip hop guys, they come directly, like slapping the magazine, squeeze the trigger, here comes the beat, right? So, for the longest time, and again, like I said, to this day, you got to go and build that outside before you step into the club or before you step into the DJ booth. House music always has a built-in 32 or built-in 64. Sometimes 64. A built-in 128.
Sometimes 128.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, the fact that people wasn't jumping on that opportunity to use that as a time, to sort of speak on it and sort of, like you say, educate the people, tell them about this track, tell them where it came from. And where it most hits you, when you out there doing a little spinning thing and you rocking the house set, and then somebody comes up and you say, hey, can you play that song? You know, the one that goes, doom, doom. I was like, that's all of them. You got to come harder than that.
You play the song that's got the 808 drum in it.
And it's like, the one that,
isn't that a Micmac record there, Dizz?
Like,
no, wait. Can I give you the best story?
Yes.
I was on the radio, and I told this on the ChicagoFamous podcast that me and Mike do. Don't forget, September 8th, we're coming to you live, Chicago. But somebody called me during my house show on Friday night and said, hey, I got a request. Could you play Fruit Punch High C? And I said, Fruit Punch High C? They're like, yeah, it's a house record, man. It's the Chicago song. I'm like, look, I'm from Chicago. I've been here my whole life. I've never heard of Fruit Punch High C. And then they started singing it. And all of a sudden, I realized that they were singing the dub version of Brighter Days by Dodge. which is Fridays. Can you feel it? And they thought it was fruit punch high C, fruit punch high C, fruit. I was like, okay. So to this day, I always look at that record by Dajé as Fruit Punch High C. And
we need a juke version of that.
Dude, that's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, but I mean, it was always really interesting too, because when I came to soul, one thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to step out of Bad Boy Radio, because Bad Boy Radio was built by myself and Mike Love. And I didn't want to bring that same element across the street because it just wouldn't feel the same. So that's why I was able to kind of do the things that I wanted to do and go back to my original roots, which was dance music. And, I'm going to tell you something. I got a lot of blowback from the industry out of Chicago because, like always, they think because I spent 12 years on GCI and I actually worked for a rap station back in the day, which was WJPC, what does that dude know about house? Well, I was born in the south suburbs out in Park Forest, Illinois, and within a 5-block radius of my house came some of the best, most influential house talent this city has ever seen. And I always speak for the people who live out in the south suburbs because we kind of had our own culture out here. Just from my house alone, DJ Pierre, who's considered the godfather acid that gave you a horn song, acid tracks, Your Only Friend, just go down the list. Him, yep. Spanky, and Herb, they made Future. They stayed right over in University Park. Felix the House Cat, who's big with techno now, was on ISO Records and did Fantasy Girl. J.R. Jordan, who sang on most of the records out here in the south suburbs, he was from Chicago Heights. Brian Harden, Roy Davis Jr., who has just numerous hits and, big hits with Pevin Everett, who, again, another person from the south suburbs. We made our contribution out here. I made my first record here in 91 with Brian Harden and Roy Davis. And then I went to New York and I actually did some stuff with Strictly Rhythm. So the house music thing has always been in my blood. And out in the south suburbs, we didn't have Mendel. We didn't have Kenwood, but we had Rich Central. We had Bloom. And we had some of the hottest damn parties out here. And cats like Rockin' Reggie and Jam Master Jay, who were like the vet DJs back in the day, were a lot of the cats that were responsible for throwing the parties out here in the skating rinks like the Oval and Starflyer and Glenwood. Yeah. And, I always tell people how important the Hot Mix 5 was, because kind of like what me and Mike did with the juke music, not everybody got to hear Ron Hardy. You let the city tell it half the time, and it's all about Mendel and the music box and Ron Hardy, and that's where it is. That's a very important part of history, and it is what it is. But a lot of people who were born and raised outside of Chicago couldn't get to the music box. They couldn't get to the playground. Only a handful of us could get there. So we got our house music from WBMX. Because WBMX was a signal that could reach to Waukegan. It could reach out here to Kankakee, to Joliet. And that's how our house culture was exposed to a lot of the people out here. Like my girlfriend, she grew up on BMX. Now, myself, I actually got a long route. I used to take a bus from Park Forest to Chicago Heights, catch a 352 Halsted bus from Chicago Heights to 95th Street, meet my cousins on 95th Street, and that's how we would go to the music box or hear Frankie Knuckles or do whatever. But I mean, not everybody. 90% of the people out in the south suburbs didn't do that. I was one of those, me, Pierre, Roy, some of us. That's how we got our feed and our love for house music. And a lot of times that story is not told. We hear from the Chosen Few. We hear about Chippy and Time to Jack. We hear about Robert Williams' contributions. But out here in this south suburb area, man, between the clubs we had out here and the culture, we were so hot at one time that people from the city were coming out here to our parties. And that shit never happens. People from Chicago rarely go past 95th Street for anything. But at the time,
I think in probably the mid to late 90s, people were starting to go to the south suburbs and come to some parties.
We had stuff rolling, and we built relationships with like Armando and Mike Hitman and Terry Hunter, and that became a great thing. Cats like Boris Priestley, who went to Bloom High School, was out promoting his ass off, hanging boards out in the south suburbs like they used to hang boards in the city. So, I mean, we were happening, and I always will stand up for the south suburbs and let everybody know that this house culture is massive. It's huge. It's born and raised in Chicago. But please don't forget the different facets that added to this gumbo that we love so much.
Well, did they ever talk to you when you were out at Soul? Did they ever try to convince you and Mike to get back together and do something there?
No, they never did. Actually, from what Mike told me, they were actually looking to hire Mike at Soul before they called me. And for some reason, they said they had the paperwork together, everything was good, and then all of a sudden they called him and said, "We don't need you." And Mike was like, "What the fuck?" And then I show up on Soul like 4 months later. So, I mean, we won't get into the business of radio and all that shadiness. It is what it is. I'm just glad.
And Doc's just shaking his head from Honolulu.
I'm just glad we're back together, and ChicagoFamous is coming at you September 8th, and we are going to cut heads off. We are going to have a ball. So it should be fun.
You don't even know. The business of radio is so crazy. Like, people just do not understand. Like, my radio partner and I were probably accidentally responsible for one of the most famous songs in the world to this day, and still one of the most famous wedding songs to this day. And because we played it where we weren't supposed to, because we let one of our interns control the station for a second while we were probably doing something we weren't supposed to do, we got suspended because we weren't supposed to play that record. But that record went on to be like 50 Blippin platinum, and it's All My Life by Casey and JoJo. But we broke that record.
Wow, look at that. Wow.
Right? Yeah. So when it showed up on, Monday Morning Quarterback, you guys remember that? Or
yeah, absolutely.
FMQB. When it showed up on the list, like at first, we got in trouble. And then next thing you know, Tommy's coming to the station to hand out gold watches and, the little plaques and stuff, because we probably created the greatest record of all time in that genre. And we were suspended. We were at home because we weren't supposed to play the record. And then the program director is like, "Oh, yeah, that was my idea." And then
he kept your watch and your plaque?
Yeah, right.
And then, so, I mean, like, our town got a free concert from Casey and JoJo, the whole 9 yards. But, yeah, my partner, JP, and I, we were sitting at home going, "Oh, yeah, that had nothing to do with us," right? So, yeah, that's the business. That's the business.
Yeah.
It's just always been goofed up.
Look, I mean, going back to our GCI days, I mean, when me and Mike approached programming about the whole extended workout, the juke music, which was the kind of the third wave of house music here in Chicago, the whole footwork juke culture thing, they were like, "Hell no, we don't want to hear no work it on the radio." So we kind of decided we were going to play like 20 seconds of it, because we already knew that cats like Sluggo and Chip and DJ Funk and Waxmaster, these dudes, they had the streets on lock.
Yeah, you name them.
And we also understood that there were places in Illinois where, unless you had family in Chicago or you went to Chicago, you weren't hearing that music. So they weren't hearing juke music down in Waukegan, North Chicago, Zion, Joliet, Kankakee, Gary, not on a regular. If you knew somebody that had it, then fine. But we might put it out there to the world on that flamethrower that was GCI, then everybody got on the juke bandwagon, kind of like what Scott and his crew did with the Hot Mix 5. Yep. It was like, once that mixing, that house music started reaching the masses, then it really took off, and it really became a phenomenon. So
I can remember doing high school parties, proms and homecomings, and I'd be playing juke music. And I had your version of the cha-cha slide that was like double speed. Oh, it was awesome, because now it was no longer like a wedding. It was a party, and it's high school students, and they were going nuts with that stuff. They just loved it. So, I had a lot of fun with that stuff back in the day.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about exposing the culture and building the culture. And I'm so passionate when it comes to house music and dance music. And I get so jealous sometimes when it comes to hip hop, because again, hip hop has always been a business. They've always run their art form as a business. It's always found a way to make money. If the radio didn't play it, they got it in commercials. They got it in movies. They found a way to make sure that you were going to know that we're here. Whereas in house music, it seems like to me, with house music, it kind of seems like everything has always been, it's for the love, and we're just gonna play this, and then all of a sudden you look up one day, nobody's making any money anymore. There's no clubs anymore. Nobody's paying for music anymore. And then all of a sudden it just kind of fades away.
The biggest tragedy, I would say, the biggest tragedy of house music as it stands right now, and it's kind of painful because we all know better because we come from there. And I was just mentioning this to Scott earlier. I'm never going to hate on anybody's game and what they're doing, but to watch basically house music get picked up, tapes were sent all over the world, right? It made it to the UK, made it to France, it made it to Germany. These guys took that style, added their Eurofunk on it, mixed it up with the Italian style, and then all of a sudden Eurofunk and then Eurohouse became UK Garage. UK Garage eventually became Gao. Gao eventually became techno, and techno comes into position right at the time that marketing companies start to look at that 138 BPM plus, right? That's when it starts to hit commercials. That's when it starts to hit movies. That's when you start to get that sort of what they used to call it, speed. Oh my God!
Speed Garage.
Speed Garage, right? Speed Garage, all that stuff comes in. And then now, fast forward to today, which turns into quote unquote EDM, which is kind of sort of irritating.
Well, trance and then to EDM.
I'm sorry, electronic dance music started in Chicago in the freaking 80s. It was called house. But then these other people co-opted it, turned it into what they call it, and now you got cats in Vegas making $10 million a year for standing there playing. And you know what's funny about that? No one's dancing. They're all looking at him going,
right.
you know, and again, I don't hate on it.
And at the end of the day, you know what the brothers got? The brothers all got titles. He's the Godfather. He's the king. He's the prince. He's the mastermind. Yet we didn't get paid.
Nope.
And we didn't control anything. It was like all that groundwork that was laid by all those veterans from back in the day was picking up and taken by other people, and they found a way to flip it and make it profitable. And in the meantime, they'll always go on an interview and say, "Oh yeah, Chicago's the mecca of house music, and such was the king or the godfather of house music." Yet they're making all the money. They own all the clubs. They own all the merchandise. They got all the raves. They got all the big concerts and venues going on, and we don't have nothing. So once again, I took 10 years basically from 2010 to 2020 to step away from the scene and kind of refocus my life from a business standpoint. And I will definitely give credit when credit is due. Lil Louis had a lot to do with that. Not only did this brother take me on tour with him to Japan, but his knowledge and his wisdom and him teaching me how to look at things through a business mind is something that I will never, ever forget. And it changed my entire outlook on how I look at this art thing. It's not about just wanting to DJ every day or DJ just about every party. It's a business component to this. And if you can take time to learn the business, the DJ part is easy. Most of us been DJing our whole lives. We can jump on 12s, we can jump on Serato. Doesn't make a difference. But the business part of it is what you really have to learn. And I'm not saying business from, oh yeah, I'm just going to throw my own party. I'm talking Steve Jobs business type stuff. Learn how this works, then apply the business to what you already know, which is your art and your passion. And brother, you can do whatever you want to do.
Well, this is a problem in the business.
That's 100% true. And it's funny, we talk about that on the show pretty much like every week. I try to catch people back up on the business side of things because the playing side is easy, right? I'm always trying to drop knowledge on like, listen, fam, you got to figure out a way to get out there and do your marketing like the whole 9 yards. And it's funny because even hip hop, when it was making that transition from the music of the street to the music that's a business, probably the person generally the most responsible would be your Russell Simmons of the world and then your Sean Combs of the world. And they call it hate. They call it hate. Like, I'm going to go put some water in Buck Nasty's mama's bowl kind of hate. And yet, if it wasn't for them, like, literally, we wouldn't be even where we are, say, sort of in the hip-hop community at this time. They saw the vision. They did the business. But for some reason, all of the cats in house music that attempted to do that, they all got squelched. You know what I mean? And they still get hated on today. Like, probably one of the most popular names in the house music industry outside of house music would be Armand Van Helden, but even house people hate on him. And I'm like, why?
Well, he's a trance DJ.
It doesn't matter. He brought it to the masses.
He's done it.
He brought it to the masses, right? When Funk Phenomenon came out, and that was something that we could actually play on the regular radio out here, I was like, okay, we got a chance. We're going to see more house music start to pick up.
My bad. I was thinking Armin van Buuren. Let me correct myself first.
Whoa.
My bad. I was thinking Armin van Buuren, so sorry about that.
But you know what I'm saying, right? So, like, when that record first came out, we literally thought, okay, we got a chance, right? When I was watching MTV playing Crystal Waters and Robin S, right? When I was like, okay, we got a chance. We're getting there. And all of a sudden, it got hated right out of the right out of the whole thing because
Yeah, I mean, there was one time
they let some regular pop person do a track and everybody lost it. It's like, okay, we're done. And you shouldn't have done that. That was your key. The pop is the slide into the DM. That's when your friend says, okay, yeah, my boy's kind of weird or whatever, but he's cool. You should just go out with him. That was the moment, and we didn't take it.
Yeah, I mean, you could go back in time and you could think about there was a time when Frankie Knuckles' whistle song was actually in a Nestea commercial. Big Fun or Was It Good Life by Inner City was in the MGD commercial. I mean,
old style.
They were marketing those products by using dance music, and somehow that whole concept got lost going forward. And now we're in a digital age when you got Netflix, you got Crackle, you got Pluto, you got all these streaming platforms, you got all these shows. I can't tell you how many songs I actually bought from watching Orange is the New Black or Pose or Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. I'm like, there's a hot ass song. What song is that in there? And I am trying to look it up online because I want to buy the song because I saw it in this particular platform. But sometimes old guard has old ways and they think we still got to get our song on the radio and this is how we've done it for years and years and years, and we can't see what really is right in front of us. And from my Tone Master Tuesday days to starting my own promotion company to building the things that I was building, like I said, back then when I was building my events and my parties, I ended up making an email list with close to 8,000 names on it with like a 40% open rate on it. So, I mean, I didn't have to put flyers on cars anymore. I didn't have to run around and beg people. I hit people with an email on Friday, 8,000 people knew. Bam. I was getting ready to throw a party and my shit was packed. My parties were at the least 400 people were there. But once again, I saw what was happening. I understood that there are different vehicles to be used, that Facebook is fine, but I don't own Facebook. Facebook is a tool for me to use to drive people to my website, to collect my personal data. So when it comes time for me to sit down at the round table with sponsorships and big time people, I have that available to me. If Facebook decides to cut off tomorrow, there's a lot of people who wouldn't know what to do.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, go to Facebook jail for a couple days and you'll feel lost.
Yes, that would absolutely You know what that is? People don't get it. Like, it's funny. Let's take one of the biggest businesses in the planet right now. In the beginning, Apple was sold at your Circuit Cities of the world and Computer Cities of the world. And back in about, I want to call it like 1999-ish or so, Apple sent out a secret shopper, and the dude went to a store and was asking for an ADB cable in order to connect a keyboard. And the guy sat there and told an Apple executive why he shouldn't buy a Mac. Didn't know he was talking to an Apple executive.
Wow.
He's like, oh, you shouldn't buy a Mac. They suck. Like, this is the problem. Blah, 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 blah. Nobody buys those. This, and that. And so he took him to the Mac section, and, like, the computers were dusty. The display was all whack. Nothing was in order. And you look at the rest of the store, and it was kind of sort of beautiful. So this guy took it upon himself and came back and was like, yo, Mr. Jobs, we need to either take all of our crap out of these stores and sell completely through those magazines, through Mac Warehouse and OWC out of Illinois, by the way, or we need to open up our own stores. And then that was the beginning of building the Apple stores. And it wasn't about like whether they would ever sell a computer. It was going to be just a place for you to go and put your hands on it. And once you got it, you can go buy it from wherever you wanted to buy it. Turned out to be one of the best decisions of their life. So until recently, you couldn't buy it anywhere but the Apple Store, apple.com, right? You couldn't go into Best Buy because they didn't want to put it back in weirdos' hands where people would just say dumb stuff. So if the biggest company in the world didn't teach you, be in charge of your own property, son, then you slipping. Like, that was the best
some of the people that got the richest. I mean, look at Jay-Z. Yeah. I mean, they sold records out, they sold records out of the back of their trunk to make the money. Why? Because if they were getting $5 for the record, it was costing them $1 to make. They had a 4 times turn on it.
Yep.
Versus giving it to somebody and they were getting the $1 instead of the $4.
And again, you look at it like Damon. Dude, Damon's sitting up on Shark Tank. People forget Damon used to sling shirts out of the back
T-shirts out of his
crusty whip. He used to sling shirts out the back of a crusty whip. Now this dude sitting up here listening to other people's stupid ideas going, nah, son, I'm out.
Right. So it's funny. So you mentioned Diddy and you mentioned Russell Simmons. And I can remember when Mike and I were on GCI, the two smartest people I can ever remember talking to off air were Master P and 50 Cent. Yes, my God. I couldn't believe how genius that both of these individuals thought. I mean, they were thinking 20 years down the road all the time. And to see where their careers went and what they're involved in now and what they do is absolutely no surprise to me, because I saw what they were seeing back then. And they were fascinating. In your story about Apple, it's interesting because when I got let go from GCI, in order for you to get your severance package, Scott knows, you got to sign a no-compete clause. So that means you basically can't work in radio for a year.
Sign a no-compete, had to sign that you wouldn't sue them also, so you got the other bonus that went with it.
Exactly. So I couldn't do anything in radio. I think mine was 6 months. So I actually got a job working at an Apple store, and working in that Apple culture taught me so much. I mean, it was a really interesting 4 months working with Apple computers and Apple customers and seeing the passion that these people had for that brand. And I said to myself, when I do a party, when I do an event, I hope that I can have people that passionate about what I do. And I took it upon myself to make sure that customer service was always number one for me. I've had a problem with the industry in this city of Chicago, not the people who have enjoyed my mixes, not the people who enjoyed the radio shows. They have always been there for me through thick and thin. They've always supported me, and I always will be grateful and thank them for that. And, that's just kind of helped shape me to be the person that I am. And just one more thing I'll note that you said about the secret shopper coming in there regarding the Apple. That's something else that I think social media has done to really hurt relationships.
Yes.
Cats don't know when to shut up. I see people talk on Facebook constantly. They whine, they bitch, they cry, they complain, they kumbaya. Shut up sometimes. I don't post on Facebook hardly. And then if I do, I got something to say. But most of the time, I'm silent. I move in silence. I do what I got to do. And when I'm ready to present what we got going on, then I'm ready. But to sit here and bitch about somebody else's plan or somebody else's thing is just, it's just tacky to me. That's just me, and I'm just speaking.
Some people just put too much dirty laundry out there sometimes. That's just what it comes down. They like that drama. But, Doc, what's your involvement with that?
Huh?
What's that?
I said, I give you an excuse when you're 15 and 16. You do dumb shit. When I see 50 and 55-year-olds.
That's all I get on my Facebook.
Fighting, it's like, are you serious? Like, dude, stop. But, hey, I'm not here for Facebook fights. I stay out of that. I'm like, hey, you like me, you don't, whatever, float your boat. I'm all good,
Yes.
Doc, aren't you a product of Apple?
Yes. I worked there for years, and
see,
and it's funny. I was just laughing because my friend Brady said, "Do you still bleed in 6 colors?" And and I was like, "Yeah," because to this day, sometimes I still refer to the brand as we and us. And I've been removed for 11 years now, but I still say we and us because it's part of the culture. Like Dizz was saying, it's part of the culture. And a lot of people don't realize that, I didn't know those lessons before I learned them when I worked at Apple, but I had done those lessons. I was in a situation where one of my partners, who's actually watching right now, we decided to leave a nightclub situation because of a toxic boss, because he thought that, the 3,000 people that was clamoring to come in was because his club was dope. And it was like, right, son, that's
they liked his glassware so much. He had the best glassware in town.
Yeah, that's these two dudes in the DJ booth, right? The one dude that you keep telling them to shut up, which is me, and the other dude you keep telling them to play something that you wanted them to play because the girl you was trying to hit up wanted to hear it. And we was like, nah. Exactly. And then when we left under duress, that they were empty for about 3 solid months before somebody tucked their head between their butt and told us, okay, you
club
guys
owners,
can come
we
back
taught
through.
Club owners the hard way when we walked out of their clubs. Trust me, and it happened to a number of them. Okay,
it happens all the time.
They think they got it going on, and it's like, I'll show you what you got going on.
And again, that doesn't mean that the DJ is king, but it meant that like we took time. Like, okay, when I walked out of the booth to go to the bar to refresh James and my drink, I would holler at people. I would talk story, like, hey, how's it going? Whatever. What can we get you? Are you doing okay? Are you enjoying the vibe? Like, whatever. Like, you would build that clientele, right? And so there guaranteed people that would come with you wherever you went because they felt like they were part of your tribe. And that's why I laugh when DJs say I got to be on Facebook, even though they keep muting me, because no one's going to come with me to Twitch because they don't use Twitch. That's because you didn't ask them to. Because trust me, they will. I remember them going with you from club to club whenever we would switch clubs. So they will come with you to Twitch. If you tell them, hey, let's go to Twitch because my is going to get muted. But again, you should be working on getting them to your own platform, to your own.
Right. If you take the time to build your own brand and you're nice to people and you give them you go above and beyond to give them the best experience and something they will remember for a long time, they will follow you to the end of the world. The end of the world. I mean, and again, I'm reading a book right now called Emotional Branding. And it talks about the difference between a brand and just a business. They were saying in this book, like, if Coca-Cola right now liquidated all its assets, it would be worth about $7 billion. Yet the Coca-Cola brand itself is worth $87 billion. That's the brand, because people know, like Scott over here drinking it, people know that red Coke brand around the world and probably off the planet. But the brand has become that valuable. So, I mean,
it's addicting too, by the way.
Right. So you look at Apple. Apple is a brand. Half the people don't even know why they buy Apple, but they're like, I got to have Apple because it's Apple and I got to be down with this brand.
It's like Harley Davidson. How many people go get a tattoo of your business on their arm?
Exactly. Yep. People will wait an entire year to get a Harley Davidson when they can just run out and get any bike they want. But they will wait that entire year because the brand Harley Davidson means so much. And I tell cats all the time, all you have is your name and your brand. And that is super important. And if you wish to just put it on every party, every event, everything you could find, you might pay for that at the end of the day. So sometimes you have to pull back and you have to understand what your brand means and where your vision wants to be in the future and strategically place your brand on things that will help move your situation forward. Like ChicagoFamous, what me and Mike are doing, we control this. September 8th, when we're on the air, we control where we go, what we do, what events we're a part of, what people we talk to. It's all a part of the brand. And like I said, I always tell people my mom worked in a library for 30 years. She was a teacher. If there's nothing that I take away from my mom, is the fact that she taught me how important books are and read. And all these people, whether they're Steve Jobs or they're Coca-Cola or they're Freakonomics, Stephen Dubner.
Oh, that's my joint. Oh, my God.
Because you can find out some amazing things from cats who are willing to share these industry secrets to help propel where you want to be.
Dude, Freakonomics is my joint. Absolutely changed my life when I got into that. And I still listen to them every time they come out. Hey, since we're on the subject of books, let me go ahead and throw this one out there. This one is actually written by one of I call her my mentor, whether she likes it or not.
That's Stephanie's book?
Stephanie Liu, Mike Alton, Eric Butto, and Jen Harmon. But this brand new just came out like August 26th, and it's all about social media marketing and whatnot. Let me frame that properly. So it's put out by Entrepreneur Magazine, and if you haven't had it,
and you'll make sure I get a copy of that, right, Doc?
I bought my copy because I wanted to promote my
there you go.
My people.
Hey, buy books. It's like buying albums. Buy books.
Yeah, it's the same.
That's something. I wanted to touch on that because when we go back, you were talking about the records and stuff, and it's such a shame. I mean, the youth and anybody not having the opportunity to see the artwork that came from the records that were done, being able to walk into a record store and experiencing that. And as a DJ, like we get so much music every day. I get probably, honestly, like at least 3,000 songs a day that I go through the pools and stuff. But it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. There's no camaraderie in doing it. There's no, 10 or 15 people that you can watch bopping their head going up and down. It's like, the business has just changed so much.
Okay, so I remember I managed a record store that was Record Town in Lincoln Mall out in Matson back in the early 90s, right when I got out of high school, 89, I guess, to like 92. And then a partner of mine, me and him opened up a store on 87th Street called the Rap House, which was on 87th and East End. But the part that I miss the most, and I feel for young people from this standpoint, how valuable the record store was to a DJ. I can remember a time that I was in Hot Jams on Archer and Pulaski. Shout out to my man Andre Lopez. for running Hot Jams.
And definitely Frankie Vega, and we can go down the list of all the people that were there.
Definitely one of my guys. I can
Frankie Vega, he's the big Apple guy. You know, big shot at Apple now.
I can remember being in that record store, and at any given time, you could see Julian Perez, Bad Boy Bill, Frankie Knuckles, DJ Rush, Ron Trent, Tim Schomer, all in the store at the same time. And everybody is talking about different music. And it was like you had just had these DJ conversations going on. And such would be talking about how he just got back from overseas and this record was popping. And this dude just produced this record. And this guy just did a remix on this. And it wasn't a separation so much of house music. It wasn't soulful house and disco house and techno house. It was just dance music. And you walked out of the record store with maybe one or two techno records and then a disco record. And then here's a sample track. But you were able to get this nice mix of music because you had all these DJs and all this talent in the record store talking and just, fellowshipping all at the same time. And that's what I think is missed when you think about online record stores like TrackSource and Beatport. Yeah, you got charts, but I'm not talking to Louis Vega. I can just see what Louis Vega's posted on his chart. I would like to sit in a room with Timmy Regisford or Charisma or whoever it is, Black Coffee, and hear about the stuff that maybe they just got up on, not the stuff that they're playing right now. So,
the charts, half of it is hype anyway. You know that. And, one of the big pet peeves I've had over the years is, we go back and talk about like the DJs touring and things of that nature. Somehow the industry got away from hiring the best DJs for the events and started hiring producers. Yep. And we can go back and look at let's go back and look at the B96 era. And they used to bring some guest mixers on, and they, Shep Pettibone would come on, or some of the different mixers, or Todd Terry, but all they did was play their catalog. So you got a half hour of their catalog, whether the record, they might have had like a really hot record in there, and then they had like 7 Dogs with Fleas on there. Okay. So, it was like, it's their catalog, and that's what it's been going to all these shows. If you went to the festival, they weren't necessarily playing the 10 hottest records. They were playing 8 of their records, 1 which was really hot, and 8 which were, mediocre at best. And, but yet that's what the producers and these festivals all want to hire. They would hire the producer of the record versus hiring the best DJs to entertain that crowd. That's something that was always a pet peeve for me.
And you know what's funny about that, Scott? That you just closed back a point that I brought up a long time ago, and I forgot that that's what it was. When I was naming those records that was hitting the MTV circuit at the time, that was giving us the opportunity to break into quote-unquote mainstream, it was the Shep Pettibones and the Todd Terrys of the world that were producing those records. And because of their clout or carte blanche or whatever at the time, because Shep was doing not dance music as well, right. that was the music. If you go back now and you look at Downtown Julie Brown and you start picking up on some of those tracks that made it to MTV, it was all the Terry and Pettibone stuff. Now that you bring it up,
Todd's one of my favorite producers. I mean, one of my all-time favorite records is the remix of Jumpin'.
Todd Terry Project is made.
Absolutely.
It's funny. And again, if you ask most people back in the day, they will come to somebody who I absolutely hated, not because the music was bad or anything, but because I was called Freedom back then because I had the ponytail. So
right.
Oh my God. What is Civilis and Coles? But most people don't know them. They know Freedom, but they don't know that, what was behind it. But yeah, that's what the MTV sort of era was. It was CNC and, Shep Pettibone, Todd Terry. And I still hate all of you idiots that used to call me Freedom for my ponytail.
Wow. Well, I was a DeBarge back in the day, so you know.
Yeah. Oh, you had the curls too?
Dude,
hey,
oh
now
my God,
I would pray to have any of that hair back, but
I was a combination.
Dizz, you used to have some plaid pants that you would wear in the station that would definitely raise an eyebrow every now and then.
We're not talking about those, man. I didn't have plaid pants, but I did have a yellow wardrobe though, and I haven't worn yellow since my days back at GCI. I'm strictly in black nowadays. So, but yeah, I mean that's just crazy. Like when you think about those days and how those things have come. But like I said, everything comes full circle. Just like, you know, Mike and I doing this ChicagoFamous September 8th jumping off, you know, things come back around. I just always want people to understand that there's always two sides to everything. And sometimes you got to take a step back and relearn stuff. And like I said, to this day, I will always be grateful to Lil Louis, not for only just teaching me what he taught me about the music industry and how to handle things and how my approach to things, but going back to the South suburbs and house music. I remember it was Lil Louis who came out to the South suburbs and took DJ Pierre and put him on one of his big 4th of July Bismarck parties. And that was a party where he had Frankie Knuckles playing, Ron Hardy was playing. And when Louis put Pierre on downtown for that party, it was like validation for all of us out in the South suburbs. We were like, that's one of ours. And whereas in a handful of people from the South suburbs, and I'm talking far South suburbs.
We're going to work for this guy one of these days.
Matson, Richmond Park, all that area, how they really didn't get to see Ron Hardy in his prime. They saw Louis because Louis would throw his parties at a neutral site, meaning the Bismarck Hotel, which we could take the Metro from University Park to the Bismarck if we wanted to. And a lot of people out here had a big appreciation for Lil Louis back then because, again, he took one of our DJs, put him on, and where he threw his parties, we were able to get to. Most people, 90% of the people out in the suburbs were going to the underground. What happened? A handful of us, yes, we were there, but the other half wasn't. But I owe Louis that, you know, that recognition for that, not only as a great DJ, a producer, a person, but definitely as a teacher and somebody that I will always look up to.
That's something we'll have to do a show on business. We really should do a show on the music business and have a little panel because, you know, that's one of the things that I think a lot of the guys miss. They love it and they do DJ work as a passion, but maybe not as much in the, you know, as sharp on the business tip as they need to be.
And also understanding what real business is. Just because you go out and buy a plane don't make you a pilot. Sometimes it just makes you a motherfucker with a plane. That's the truth. I mean, everybody gets mad at all these DJs nowadays because they didn't.
They all got planes now because
they go out and get Serato or get a program or get a controller, but they didn't grow up on 1200s and having to buy $15 Ram horn records. So they want to get mad at them. And you know, I understand that argument sometimes, and I get it. But we're not going back to turntables, and we're not going back. We can't rewind the clock to the 80s. We have to
took our instrument away a long time ago, folks. And you know what? Get with the program. Move on. I mean, take advantage of the technology. I mean, you can do more. I could do more in an hour live than I could do in a month in a studio. I mean, it's just the technology is there.
Look, I'm still
I
am still an old school cat. I mix on 3 CDJs and a mixer. I buy maybe 10, 12 records a month. I get records from overseas all the time. I don't ever want to go back to hauling crates of records or hauling turntables.
I had the hernia surgery from moving that equipment, okay? So trust me, I don't want to carry records.
I convert all my albums to digital. I convert all them imports that I get to digital. I keep all that stuff on file, and that's how I play it. Nothing wrong with that. Like I said, I'm not one of these cats that want to go out and scream, bring vinyl back, because you know what? Shit just ain't going to happen.
I'm not going to go back to a rotary. I like the convenience of them. I love the technology. I embrace technology. I think, you know, what we've seen in the last 10 years, I can't wait to see what we're going to see in the next 10 years because it's just getting better and better all the time. So once we get past this.
And the most important point, what I will always say is I have never had a woman run off the dance floor, look over the DJ console and say, hey, are you playing my favorite record on a vinyl or are you playing at an MP3? The dance floor doesn't give a shit. They just want to hear their favorite song. They want
Matter of fact, if you're not playing their favorite record, they'll throw their phone in your face and go, here it is, plug it in and play it.
And they want to hear it now. So nobody, the dance floor doesn't care at the end of the day.
That is the biggest challenge as a DJ.
No, I was going to say, it can't get any more true than that, because when people say that to me, I go, you know what? You're 100% right. Let's go outside and check out that horse you got. They go, what?
Exactly.
I'm like, no, fam. I mean, according
and the buggy whip, that was the best damn buggy whip ever made. I mean, you know how good that buggy whip was? It was unbelievable, the quality of that.
I was like, according to you, everybody should still be out there on a Pinto, and I don't mean the Ford. I mean the one with the white and black spots on it, like Tonto and the Lone Ranger.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? Let me just say this for everybody that's on the chat, because there's probably 100 comments in there, and I don't have the ability to chat. I will reply to everybody's chat message, everybody that says what's up, everybody that says hey. I will sit up tonight and I will definitely answer anybody's questions.
I will tell you who they are.
Anybody says, I'll just let them know.
I will tell you. I've been putting them up. I've been putting them up.
There's probably a bunch of them, but when I do stuff like this, I don't like to stop what I'm doing just to start shouting out people.
That's why I didn't want to interrupt you, but we got to say what's up to DJ Alicia, because she's out there. She's out there talking smack about you.
Our girl.
Our girl. B. Hopkins was out here. Felicia,
I know I'm whack.
Felicia Rangel, James Cole.
Felicia, the house girls listed? Oh,
Robert is here every week making trouble to Scott
Robert,
and I.
Always appreciate you.
My little brother June, and let's see, there's a couple out there. So yeah, I agree with you. Today was such fire. I didn't want to mess with you. I was like, yo, this is good stuff right here, because it's just, it's crazy. And again, Scott, I think you're right. Maybe we need to set up a Zoom call or something to get a bunch of the business cats out there. And actually, Robert brought up a good point. It's like, you need to start a marketing agency around, a marketing and talent agency around DJs and house music and that. And the other thing, I think that one of y'all need to hurry up and get this book out. Because
I'm writing one book as of right now.
Okay.
So one book is on the way. So that's another one of my projects for 2021. I also have just about completed an album. So I got a new album coming out. I got a book coming out. And of course, the big news is ChicagoFamous. There it is. Mike Love, myself, back on the What's in It for the Black People Network starting September 8th. We're going to be live YouTube. We're going to be live on Facebook and probably a couple other platforms as well. And we're going to be breaking it down and talking about everything. And Scott, when you decide to have Mike and myself both on at the same time, you guys let us know. And we will definitely jump in the man cave.
We would be honored to have you both on at the same time together, because we talked about that.
Call back tomorrow.
Call back tomorrow. Thank you, Neil, for the
Give me
support.
20 minutes. Call us back, okay? We'll record that.
And you know what? I want to personally thank you all, because you all are the first interview I've done in 10 years. The last time I did a live interview, I did it in 2010. So you guys are the first. But, Scott, you reached out to me, which I can appreciate, because I know that they've all had all type of house music, dance music panels all over the place. Don't nobody call me for shit, but that's all right, because like I said, I kind of do what
nobody calls me either. So
I kick back and I just handle my business. I guess eventually folks will
get around to
me. My email is the same. It's been the same forever. You know how to find me. Reach out to me. We can talk about it.
All right, so I got this. Here's what I want to do. Since on the 8th is going to be the new comeback show, how about the 9th we come and talk about it?
Well, that's going to be, we just got to find the time. We might have to do that late. We got
a guest on the 9th already booked. So we have to talk the following week after that. Sorry.
That would have been perfect. You know what I mean? Give an opportunity to do like the postmortem on the show, like how it goes.
You want to do that?
Feel like?
I'll move.
It's up
I'm
to them.
My friend is a guest. We could make that happen if you want to do that.
You know what I say? Let us settle in, get what we're doing for the first week, because we're going to be swamped. We got interviews coming in. We got all type of people stopping by. So it's probably going to be a little madness. So once the smoke clears on that, we can set up a date, and Mike and myself will just get together in the man cave, and we can just hash it all out, man. Do a big show and talk to everybody and get things off the ground.
Let's do it. I would be all totally game for that. And we could do 4 on this, right, Doc? We can look like the Brady, half the Brady bunch up there.
We could do 5, actually. And
2/3 of the Brady bunch.
We might get lucky, and the Ecamm guest link might drop this week, too, because it's pretty close. I played with it last week. So
I know. We've all been waiting for this forever. We're hopeful.
There's no such thing as forever.
I know.
Forever is an uncalculable number. I don't like unnecessary not even platitudes. That's not even a platitude. That's a
We've been
bullshit
waiting a
attitude.
COVID lifetime for this, okay?
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yes.
So that's cool.
Hey, it's
All right.
live, man. First of all, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come out here and do this. You know, before I thought the only Chicago famous person I knew was Scott, but you know,
He's finding out there's a lot more.
but yeah. And actually, the first Chicago famous person I met ever in my entire life was Bad Boy Bill, and that was back when he was in the middle of it. Like he was kind of up in the food chain, and me and my boy James was looking at him like, man, we want to be like him one day. And again, I was telling Scott, we used to hear Hot Mix 5 tapes, like Montez used to get them shipped out here, and then we would all just sit around and listen to them as tapes. And it's funny because I think a lot of people don't realize those tapes circulated the world. And that's how Europe and all of those guys got a hold of it. And then like even New York guys got a hold of it and changed it up a little bit and then tried to take ownership of it. And I'm a New Yorker, so I'm not even going to hate on them because that's what we do to stuff. You know what I mean? Like we somehow took the hot dog and made it like we invented it. We damn sure
Okay, if you can't find it within 10 miles of New York City, it doesn't exist, okay?
Yeah.
There's nothing in the world you can't get within a 10-block area.
Stuff. You know, I know real big how us New York folks like to co-op stuff, but hey, that's just what we do. So I really appreciate you taking time out. I'm looking forward to definitely Chicago house history book from people that was in it, not guys from Rolling Stone and Vox. Okay, dude from Noisy.
I mean,
like I love you, but you're not the same as them doing it themselves.
You know, everybody has a story. The South Side has a story. The West Side has a story. The North Side has a story. But the South Suburbs has a story, too. And just like there was Trax Records and DJ International Records, Clubhouse Records with Hula and his crew, man, they gave you Brighter Days, You Got Me Up, Percolator. I mean, you could just go the list of artists and hits that label had. So, I mean, I
and then
like
Ray Barney had a label that was totally different, too. So,
Dance Mania, who put out my first record, by the way. So shout out to Ray Barney. But you know, I just like to tell my house history from my own history, from my neighborhood, from the people that I grew up with, from the DJs that influenced me. And just to touch on real quick, the whole ChicagoFamous thing. So Mike was watching an online thread that was called Black Famous. And it was basically naming people who, if they died, only black people would know. And white people in the rest of the world wouldn't know. So, but Scott, you're not in this right now because you get a pass right now. So the number one person that was black famous was Frankie Beverly and Maze. Like if Frankie Beverly died today, black people would be on social media going crazy, and white people would probably be like, "Who the hell is Frankie Beverly?" Where it's not like Prince.
I mean, Joy and Pain didn't help that, and you know, Rob Bass grabbing Joy and Pain didn't help. But
I bet the majority of white people who've danced to Rob Bass their entire life do not know that was Frankie Beverly and Maze on Joy and Pain. I'm just saying. Yep. But you don't count Scott because I know you know. But that's how Mike kind of flipped that whole concept into ChicagoFamous, because there's people here in the city of Chicago that laid roots, who laid a foundation. And if you were born and raised in this city, if you grew up, went to high school in this city, you are going to know people who are Chicago famous, whether they're actors, singers, or on-air personalities / DJs like myself and Mike. So that's how the whole ChicagoFamous concept came about.
That's dope. Okay, I'm going to give you one that you probably don't know. I'm not going to guess for you. That a lot of people don't know, and I think it's kind of funny because it's just one of those things. A long time ago, there was a dude, back in the day on the railroads, there was a guy that used to get out at every stop and take a big old bucket of grease and grease all the wheels, right? Terminologies like grease the wheel, the old radio DJ, the grease man, that all came from a job of a person on the railroad that used to grease the wheels. Well, there's one dude, he used to do that, and he was kind of an engineer type, but he never went to school. He was just a backyard tinkerer, all the George Washington Carver. He said, I'm going to make a thing that automatically greases these wheels because I'm sick of jumping on and off of this thing. And so he basically invented what we know as the oil pump, right? And so what this thing would do, it would automatically grease the wheels on the train, right? And so he went through, he was doing his thing. He kind of got famous, you know, selling and stuff. But nobody really knew who he was because he had to hide who he was because these big railroad companies weren't going to buy his product. But eventually what would happen, a competitor dude came out and tried to make another one of these automatic grease pumps. But that grease pump was crappy, right? So when the train guys went and said they wanted to buy a grease pump, they wanted to buy the real original grease pump. That dude's last name was McCoy. The terminology, the real McCoy, comes from the black man that invented the automatic wheel greaser, aka what we call today an oil pump. The real McCoy was invented by the brother that came up with the automatic oil pump, and that's where today we get that terminology that
That's
I want
awesome.
the real McCoy.
I love it.
But most folks don't
real
know
McCoy.
that. Most folks don't know that because it's his story, not our story.
So next time we do this, Scott, you are allowed to give us white facts.
We've been getting that our whole life, dog.
Scott can give us
Do
a
I
white
have any?
fact.
Do I even have any?
Give us a good hockey story that brothers just ate up on. Like,
Scott,
okay.
Scott would say
Yeah,
that
they'd be like,
pizzas
what
is
are you
supposed
talking
to be
about?
this
Yeah,
thick,
okay.
and I'm gonna say pizza's supposed to be that thick. That's
Right,
gonna be
right.
our fight.
Scott, hey.
Well,
Scott,
pizza in Chicago is supposed to be this thick and this thick, and you're supposed to like both of them, okay?
Scott's gonna have to take a black culture thing. Like, he's gonna say, like, you know, the radio that LL Cool J had on the cover for his album Radio. You know that turn knob? It was invented by a white man that lived in a small village in the Ukraine, and that would help blacks get all the bass in their 808 gig track.
And it created the term boom.
The brothers all be like, yeah, okay, we like that white dude. Like, he gave us the bass.
Right.
Hey, well, after
Turn up the
my
bass.
time in Japan, I could give you some breakdown on 808 too, if you want. But that's a different story. That's funny, man. We really appreciate you. I gotta go actually do some real work and stop messing with y'all. But all you guys that came through, big ups. I thank everybody on YouTube for coming and watching. Everybody on Facebook for coming and watching. And we'll be back next week. Who we got next week, Scott?
We are actually going overseas next week. We are going to talk to a friend of mine that is a producer. He produces production libraries and syndicated shows for radio here in the United States. And he's going to show us a little different way to do some things because a lot of you guys are used to just doing records. And he has made a very nice career for himself producing production libraries and producing syndicated shows and things of that nature. He's a househead too. So we're going to join him. His name is Jack Warren, and we're going to look forward to that conversation with him next week. He is coming to us from Finland.
Nice.
So we are going over the pond.
I'm looking.
Is there a pond there? There's got to be a pond. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, forward. Exactly. All right. Well, Dizz, first of all, thank you. Thank you for taking time out today to join us. Good luck with Chicago Famous. You and Mike, you know, we love you guys both, and we'd be happy to get you guys back on together at some point. I know you're going to blow up with this new show you're doing, so I'm really happy for you guys, and I wish you all the best. And, you know, give them how to get a hold of you one more time so they can check out the show when it premieres on the 9th.
Okay, you can check out our podcast at ChicagoFamous.com. You can check us out on the Maze Jackson Show Facebook page. Both me and Mike have our Twitter accounts. We have our Instagram accounts. My Instagram is Dizz1229. So it's DIZZ1229. That's my Instagram account. You can go to ChicagoFamous.com. You can email us through there. You can find Mike Love's information as well. And like I said, we're going to be broadcasting on the Maze Jackson page, but that will be linked to Facebook and YouTube. So 3 o'clock starting September 8th. Go to our pages, click on the link, and we'll pop right up and we'll get it on.
The original bad boys from Chicago and WGCI, Mike Love, and of course, my man, the Dizz. Do we get to do the birthday song on the way out?
No, we don't. Save it till September 12th.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. Only if you promise me I can do it with both of you guys finally, because I got to do it with Mike Love, but I've never gotten to do it with both of you guys. So I'm going to look forward to that.
You got to do it with both of us. So yeah,
exactly.
we'll figure it out. We'll get
Thanks so much, Dizz. Appreciate it.
Call on the 12th.
Doc, always a pleasure. Yeah. Take care of everybody in Hawaii. You guys are now on our travel ban here in Chicago, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that.
You got to take a 14-day quarantine if you come visit. We don't want y'all to come anyway. Y'all like thick pizza.
You're not coming to Chicago. You don't want that 14-day quarantine. I know. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We do this every Wednesday. We do it at 2 p.m. Chicago time. This is DJ's Live Streaming. I'm Scott Smokin Silz from my man Doc Rock in Honolulu and our local friend here, the Dizz from the Bad Boys. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
Peace.